I am Positively Kris Pace, and you are actively listening to Conversations with Kris. I'm always looking for people that I can surround myself with that are better people than I am, at least in some aspect of their life, right? Because we're like the collective sum of the five closest people in our life.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I'm always trying to upgrade those five people to make sure that I've got solid five. And so the
Yeah,
more people I can surround myself that are great people, now maybe I don't align on every single aspect,
you
but
won't.
you
You
won't.
won't.
That's why you got five, you know?
Well, you
And
won't.
so
I mean, I'm 47 right now,
me
and
too.
yeah, there you
Keeping
go.
it real.
Yeah, 47 years old. I will tell you that I have lived. I mature early in my mind and thought process very early on. And I will tell you that in all the years, actively, consciously able to process the world, I will tell you that I've realized that there's just so many amazing people on this
Yeah.
broad green earth.
Yeah.
And for us never to undermine anyone, and and I've even learned from the people that at one point, this is me early on when I was a little bit younger, a little bit stupider, a little bit less of everything, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Experience, less
where I
experience.
felt, I was better than this and I was better than that person, or maybe, why didn't that person think the way that I was thinking? I embrace everything now. I found that even the people that I once thought wasn't the most engaging or the most interesting people that I met, sometimes they present something that I didn't even think of,
A
and
perspective.
it's an eye opener. Perspective, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
and we're not
So that's
capable of
why
seeing
I'm
that.
not big on competition.
No.
Do not get me wrong, though. Please don't get me wrong, Kris. I am very competitive. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting in that.
You wouldn't be in
However,
sales and real
right,
estate if you weren't
right.
competitive, brother.
Right. But it's
It's like,
important for us not to, look at things and be blinded to all the other smaller part of the
yeah.
things that we interact with every day.
And when
That's so,
competition becomes the number one priority and
yeah,
winning is the priority, then you've already
yeah,
lost because
absolutely 100%.
there's no way to win if you beat someone else. The only way to win
No,
is if both people win. So like
right.
it's one of those scenarios like if you're smart enough to create a
Yeah,
win-win, then you're gonna win. But if you're
right.
not, then you lose no matter how it works out
Did you see
because
what Josh shared last week on, I
which
think on
one?
yeah,
You guys are.
about
I
about
honestly, you
lifting
guys
people
are
up?
the most posting people I've ever seen in my life, and I think it's. I'm like, does this guy just sit and go click, 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 click? I'm like, when I tag you, I'm like, man, I hate to do this to him because it's just gonna get in this feed. And Josh
So it
is,
goes. So the thing that Josh pushed out last week or put out last week was something about to the effect of how you will win even when you're lifting other people up, and it may not even be
yeah,
you.
yep,
I love that. In fact,
yeah,
I've always been of that mentality, and I'm sure in the time that you and I have interacted, the time that you have observed what I do, how I do it, it's always about lifting others up.
100%.
That,
I
that
actually really
that's a
like
big
that
part of my work.
in your speech that day where you were like, I don't need credit. I am where I am and I'm good with it. And so,
Yeah.
you're not the type of person that's going to beat your chest about what you did and who you did it with and all that kind of stuff. Because
Right.
when you get to a place in life where you know who you are and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with me, you don't need validation from anyone else.
Right.
And that's where it becomes extremely dangerous because you can easily isolate and just
Hmm.
get away from everybody,
Yeah.
or you can go the harder route and choose to try to help people
Yeah.
find their way into that peace because people ask me all the time, how are you so calm
Yeah.
even in the midst of all the chaos? And I go,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of like a duck, under the water, it's paddling like
Yeah.
hell, but on the
Yeah.
top, I just look
Yeah.
real calm and smooth.
You know what it is? You know what it is though, Kris? Because I've been thinking about this, just life in general and how I got here and what I'm doing and what I'm about to do and all the things that I'm about to be a part of. And there's a lot of excitement still, like for years ahead at this point, even where I'm sitting.
That's awesome.
But the thing that makes me kind of pull me back a little bit and grounded me is looking at everything. It's like it's been a long journey. There certainly has been a lot of success. There's also been a whole lot of failures as well. And that's the
Absolutely.
part most people don't see.
Yep.
You know, most people don't see it because I don't necessarily discuss it or share it. because
Yep.
I focus on, here's the thing, and it comes down to something really simple. The reason why I don't share the losses and all that ugly stuff and whatnot is because I'm so freaking busy watching people win all around me and celebrating their wins.
Right.
Time to
Right.
look at myself in the mirror and go,
Right.
"Oh, that sucked."
And Zig Ziglar said it best: when you want to
Yeah,
reach the top, help other people become successful,
100%,
inevitably you reach the top, right? But you're
100%,
but you're 100% right. Like,
right,
you're so obsessed with seeing other people succeed.
right.
And for us, there is no failure. There's
No,
only
there,
either success or education. Those are the two options.
and that is 100% true. 100% true.
And
This is why
that's
I go back to that statement right there. I've said this many times because I've been asked many times, you know, so whatever, whether it's Epic or whatever other business thing that I've done or even personal stuff, you have any regrets? What's your one regret? What's your two regret, if there is any, right? And I'm at a point now in my life and my career where I say there's no regret, because
fine.
every single thing, every single decision, every single step, every single idea that has gotten me here has gotten me here because of those things.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. Some
You
of
are who
the
you
decisions
are
I made.
because of everything you've been through.
Exactly. I'm the sum of everything. That's who
Exactly.
I am
And,
today.
and you can't say
I
you
oh,
love yourself until you're
yeah.
grateful for everything that's ever happened to you, which
Yeah,
can be
absolutely.
difficult when you're abused and raped and all, you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
you've got to still look at it and go, but
Right.
I'm pretty awesome now. So why wouldn't I just look at that as that was part of my training program, you know?
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, but that's a really difficult painting to paint for some people. They just can't
It is.
see
It
it,
is
you
because it
know?
also has to do with your current reflective point. If you're sitting here today, as you and I are speaking, if you are not in a good place mentally or financially or personally, whatever the case may be, but if all those things are not at a point where you're okay with it being where they're at, it's really hard. It's really, really hard to focus on the great things or the good things if you are just being bombarded with just worries and negativity all
No,
day long, every
no.
day.
And most people are. Most people have that going
Most
on.
people
So,
are.
so
Right.
when we even us talking, if someone was sitting here and they were having struggles of some sort, in their
Yeah.
mind, all they're thinking about is that
Hmm.
struggle, which is just
Yeah.
going to perpetuate the struggle they're struggling with. Meanwhile,
Absolutely.
right in front of them is the solution to the struggle, but they're
Yeah.
not seeing it because they're so, we call it looping, where
Hmm.
you just keep going round and round and round and round and round, but
Yeah.
you never get anywhere. That's what I
Right.
call it, you know, and it's like you're stuck on a hamster wheel, but you
Yeah.
got to be the one to go, okay, wait, let me stop for a second. I'm on this giant rock that's flying through
Uh,
space, happens to be the right distance from a giant fireball so that
yeah.
it could develop an atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
it's like,
Right.
and then what was my problem again? You know,
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me?
There's, on the big scheme of thing and just looking life and stepping back far enough to be able to see the big picture, you realize that even problems as they may be, they're also just like anything else, temporary.
Yes.
They will go away. I've been in
Siempre ando.
situations and problematic situation and dealing with problematic matters at a very, very stressful level. Uh,
Yeah.
and and this is something that you and I touched on, even some of our other previous conversation before today, was that I don't even feel like anything is super stressful or scary or like, you know, impossible to
Exactly.
overcome anymore these days. It's like, so,
You have no fear.
yeah, well, not
And
necessarily no fear.
if you have a fear, you go
Yeah,
towards it, not away from
yeah,
it,
yes, that's 100% true. Yeah,
because
that's 100% true. I
every,
tend to be the guy when you look around. If there's a house that's burning down, I'll be that guy that'll be going into the house to make sure
right,
that it's okay before, not that
right,
guy away.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. I've been through so much and dealt with so much very stressful things at this point in my life now, where I'm at a point where people have described me as, I think you're the kind of guy, Jay, that if the house is literally burning down around you, you'd probably be just as chill and just as mellow with the whole
You'd be
thing.
like, hang
You're
on,
probably
let me
right.
grab some ice out of the freezer on the way out. I'll meet you outside. Like, I could
Pretty much.
totally,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
I'd be
Yeah.
right there behind you waiting for the ice. Like, yeah, bro, we're good. We got time, man. I mean,
Yeah.
but
But
it, you
again,
know,
that's life experience right there, Chris.
it
That's just life
is, it
experience, right?
is.
When you
And
do it
once,
enough, you've done enough, and you've gone through enough stressors, frankly, in your life and you through your life experiences. It's kind of in a bad way, kind of desensitize you to all that stuff.
It
But at the
does.
same time, it
It
also
does.
make you more acute to these
Yeah.
things to be able to actually be more problems focused or problem
Yep.
solving focused when you get into these situations.
See them before they happen. People are like, "Well, how are
Right.
you? How are you so clairvoyant?" And I'm like, "I'm not. It's just that life is really all people can be summed up in like five categories,
Yeah.
and you really can. You know which ones they are. You kind of have those five categories figured out. Once you
Mhm.
figure out which category they fit in, they may be on the top end or bottom end of that category. But for all
Yeah.
intents and purposes, once you know, you can pretty much tell them everything about themselves." And it's
Right.
not that that's a bad thing. It's just that it's a thing, right? And it's
Right.
like there's a few of us that are on a higher frequency, different frequency.
Hmm.
And we're the ones that don't fit in any of the categories because
Yeah.
we have this ability to just transition from category to category. And every one we fit in perfectly because we're adaptable. And I think that's
Right.
probably the number one word you need to learn to survive is to be adaptable. No matter what the environment it changes, adapt,
Yeah.
figure
Well,
out
like
a
I
way.
said, I realized at this point in my life where even the bad stuff, it's all temporary.
Yep.
You make adjustments, you
Yep.
resolve it as best you can. Sometimes the solution will completely erase the mistakes. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it does not. But life still move on, and things are still going to continue to grow, and you will continue to grow. And
Yep.
maybe there may not be a smile on your face today, but a week from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, there's a smile again. And that's
And
it.
you never know if something's good or bad because down the road it could be totally different. Ripple
Right.
effect, right? So like years later, you're like, man, this thing that happened to me 20 years ago, I thought was
Yeah.
the worst thing that ever happened to me. But now looking back, it
Yeah.
shaped me into the person that I am, was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it's like that's why I look at
Right.
things that healthy and unhealthy, because I
Mhm.
think it makes a little more sense than good or bad. Because who's to say what's good or bad, right? So it's like healthy, unhealthy is definable. Good or
Right.
bad, subjective. Yeah.
Even good or bad, there's also a kind of spectrum of also how bad and how
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Stepping on a toe is bad. Stabbing
Right.
someone in the back, that's even worse. That's like
Right.
evil. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
tell me, Jay, because I really want to know
Mm.
how did you get so cool and how'd you do it so fast? Because I know how I got cool and I know how I got cool fast, but I don't know anyone else that's done it like me except you.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know
Well,
where
first
you
of all,
came
I
from
don't know about being cool. I can tell you that, I was
I don't
trying to be
either.
cool with my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, and she definitely reminds me that, Dad, you're not cool.
Well, I disagree with her. I think you're cool. You have an action figure, and your son's a Marine. You're an
Yeah.
amazing realtor and leader. I could say a husband, an
Thank
amazing
you.
husband, and
Thank you.
somehow you balance 9 million things at once, and only seem to get mad at me like three times a day, which is really respectable. Because like I love that
I'll
you
be,
speak your
it
mind
takes
too.
a
Like,
lot to get me frustrated. It takes a lot to get me unbalanced. A lot.
what
Does it
would you
happen?
credit that to?
I think a lot of it is, just honestly growing up and being very mature. I don't know if I share this with you, Kris, but I wasn't born in the US. I came to the US. In fact, my family. So I was born right after the Vietnam War. My father was actually a soldier for the Vietnamese Army, the non-communist side of it.
No way.
And later on, when he was able to, when he actually exited the military and whatnot, he tried to reestablish a civilian life. That didn't go all so well. So ultimately, he made the decision for himself and for the family, because he was obviously the head of the household, taking care of my mom and taking care of myself, and at the time, my sister, and even his two younger brothers as well. And so he found that the economy and the world after the war was no longer a place that is conducive for him to be a part of. So he
Yep.
ultimately made a decision to immigrate, to leave Vietnam. And you might have heard of stories about these quote unquote boat people.
Yeah.
We were one of those group of people.
No
So,
way.
oh,
From
absolutely, yeah,
Vietnam.
from Vietnam, yeah. So
Whoa.
the very first, and there was actually a first attempt. The very first attempt, my father actually, in the middle of the night, like midnight, he took us all down to the beach, and there was a boat off in the water waiting for us to get onto. So my father tried to bring us one by one. My mom didn't know how to swim, so he had help her out to the boat in the middle of the water. And then he went back, got his younger brother, and then the other brother as well. And then they were helping myself, because I was a kid back then as well. So they were had me on their back, had my sister on their back, swimming us out to the middle of the ocean. Unfortunately, that attempt didn't quite work out the way that we wanted to, and we were brought back. So later on, we had a second attempt of the same thing, both in the middle of the night. And this time around, we were all able to leave Vietnam. And we left Vietnam as officially as boat refugees. We went bobbing around the ocean for almost 2 weeks.
Oh
At one point,
my.
my father and my mom said that my sister, who was at the time an infant, they saw the whites of her eye roll up because they literally genuinely thought that she was going to pass away on that boat,
Yeah.
because we were in the middle of nowhere, floating around.
Dehydration, sun, all
Exactly.
the. Wow,
My
man.
father, fortunately for him, and this is a testament to my father, and back then, back in the 70s, their education was not a big
Different
deal.
time period.
Education was not a big deal. And he actually was fortunate enough to actually gone through not only elementary, grade school, and whatnot, but he actually also graduated from college as well, which is ridiculously
Wow.
for someone
Yeah.
back in Vietnam, back in the 70s, and particularly someone like him, because he came from a family that had no money.
Yep.
Like, we were broke as
Yep.
can be.
Yep.
So he found his way, and his parents himself, they were able to put himself through college, and he was able to, well, use that to his benefit and to our benefit, because as we were bopping around the middle of the ocean for that week, almost 2 weeks time, we didn't know where we're headed. My
Right.
dad, who was college educated, was able to literally figure out how to navigate in what direction by looking at the stars, looking at the moons. He started mapping out everything, and he took the lead on. And there was a boat of almost 50 people on there, and nobody knew what to do, just kept floating around in the middle of the ocean. So through his education, he was able to map out the stars and everything and navigate it in the right direction. Eventually, as we continue to bob around in the middle of the ocean, this is now almost 2+ weeks at this point. We had a big oil tanker that just happened to be coming out from Malaysia, uh, picked us up and realized that we needed help. So they scooped us up and brought us into Malaysia, the part of Malaysia which is now known as Singapore. Back then, there was no Singapore. It was
Oh,
just
really?
about, yeah,
Now it's the safest, most beautiful city in the world.
one of them, one of the most rich, one of the most beautiful cities, and one of
Amazing
the most
places,
advanced
right?
city literally in the world at this point in time. But back then, it was nothing.
How bad is a situation where you are in Vietnam and
Mm-hmm.
think to yourself, I'll take my chances in a boat on the ocean, open Pacific Ocean, not
Yeah,
like Cuba to Florida, but like
right.
across the Pacific seems like a
Mm-hmm.
better option than what you have where you are. That is an
So
amazing
yeah, for me
concept to me.
personally, obviously, I was a kid at that time.
Sure.
I was about 3 years old at that time, so I was still very young. Unfortunately, my dad, who was, like I said, college educated, which is ridiculously rare. There's almost no one that's college educated, much less even graduate from like a level of high school education.
Right, right.
But so that's rare. And for him to have that background, have that education, gone through all that hardship, fought for the country, was a prisoner of war for 3 years. So I was conceived. I didn't see my dad until I was 3. So when
Mm,
after he was let out as a prisoner of war, because simply for the fact that he was an officer and fought for the opposing side, that was the only
right,
reason why he was a prisoner of
right,
war.
right.
In fact, his job, funny enough, back when he was in the Vietnamese army, was basically taking inventory. So he was counting literally bags of sugars and rice. That's his whole job. That was what taught him and got him and put into became a prisoner of war for basically participating on the opposing army.
Well,
That's it.
that story tells me a lot about why you are the way you are, because the fact that he didn't make it on the first try,
Yeah.
but didn't not give it a second try, he went right back
Mhm.
after it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man you are too. You
Yeah.
refuse
My
to
dad,
fail.
you know what, as I've gotten older, I have looked back at how my dad, because my dad is very traditional Vietnamese guy, father, dad, and that stuff.
Is he still
Very,
alive?
very organized. Oh, he's there, very much alive. Yeah.
I would love to talk to him. We should totally. I would love to have him on the
Yeah.
podcast. I'd love
He's
to hear his story.
oh, just wait until I tell you what happened. So after we got into the boat, got pulled over to Malaysia, right, through that by way of that oil tanker. They literally saved our life and the life of so many people on that boat.
Right.
Brought it to shore, and then we ended up in a refugee camp over there in Singapore, back then Malaysia. I still have photos of me sitting in a tin roof hut, sitting on the floor with laundry being hung inside a little shed.
Wow.
I'm sitting there holding basically a tin can, a rusty
Yep.
tin can, out of it because that's our bowls and utensils.
I'm sure.
Back then. I still have photos to this day that reminds me of that. And after being there for almost a year, my family, we were really fortunate. We were sponsored by a family out in Southern California, a Christian family that found us and said, you know what, we want to offer our help to this family. That
Wow.
family is us. So my
That's
mom, my
amazing.
dad, myself, my sister, my uncle, my other uncle, we were all sponsored over to the U.S. to Southern California. We were living in a housing project after. Well, actually, you know what? Take that back. When we were brought over to Southern California, one of the coolest thing happened because I grew up like dirt poor. When I mean dirt poor, I mean like the dirt on the ground poor. Like
Right. That's
so
all I
we
had. Dirt.
US there we had literally nothing other than the shirts and shorts, I guess, that we were wearing. We were wearing flip-flops, a shirt, and shorts. We had nothing else to our name when we came to the US, all of us. And one of the first thing that happened was that that family that sponsored us over allowed us to stay at their son's duplex. And we stayed on the bottom floor. They were living on the top floor. And one of the coolest things happened. When I came there, I was greeted with a box of toys, broken toys, old toys, but it was in a big brown box, and there was just a bunch of toys in there. Myself, my sister, we were just crazy excited at that point in time because we didn't have toys, we didn't have anything
Right.
since until
Right.
that
You
age.
had your cup.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. And so that family fed us, clothed us, put the roof over our head for basically the first year while we were here in the US.
Wow.
From there, we moved to a housing project in Redland, California, Southern California. Back then, again, nothing out there with dirt. And so we lived there for the next couple of years. But this is the moment that kind of marked a huge mile marker in my dad's life. And also, as a result, our whole entire family. My dad took every job that he could when we were living in a housing project. He was a gardener. Remember, he was a college graduate.
Right. Right.
No,
Oh,
came here to
yeah.
the US. Now he's a gardener. He was Montpellier Lawn. At one point, he was an assistant mechanic, of course, unlicensed. So he was just fix things wherever he can. Smart dude. So he was able to do a lot of stuff.
Hustler.
But there came a day where there was a bullet that went through our rear patio door, and it went through it shattered our door and went into put a hole in the wall. And good, we were very fortunate; nobody was hurt. But that moment was the moment where I remember him, my dad, and my mom at the time speaking. Where he was upset. And ultimately what came down to was he said this one line that reminded me. And he was speaking in Vietnamese. He said that I did not come to the U.S. Did all this, got us all the way here to mow someone's grass for us to be in a house where we have to dodge bullets.
Oh,
So he said that I'm going back to school. So at 32 years old, without almost no English, he decided to go put himself through ESL, first 2 year picking up English as a secondary language, of course, and then eventually made his way to a 4 year university. A couple years later, graduated as a mechanical engineer.
no
Speaking
way.
absolutely at
So
32.
he had a brilliant
And my
mind the whole
mom, who
time.
also did not speak English at the time as well, also because he did what he did. He helped her to, get herself enrolled in ESL and whatnot at 30 plus years old at that point, both of them.
Mm.
And she also ended up also learning English. Not although great, but good enough these days for sure. And she also
Is
opened
it-
up her own business later on in the future. But my dad became
Wow.
an engineer. That's what kind of fired us all. So at that moment, myself, now I have two other siblings, my sister and my brother. We
Okay.
realized that no matter what we do, no matter how tough we may have it, we have for the first few years of our lives, and certainly for the first 30 plus year of my dad's life, you can't go any lower than that. You
Good
can't.
luck. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Exactly.
That's
So
that's great.
the story that I'm sharing with
That's
you today,
great.
I've only shared this only publicly twice ever in the 30 years that
It's
I've
incredible. It's
been
incredible.
doing this.
I mean,
And that it was such an inspiring moment, a moment that fired me up. Because my dad, very much, I'm like very much like my father. He's very focused. He's laser focused on whatever he does. But he also had this weird temperament where you can't really upset him.
yeah,
Now, when he gets upset,
yeah.
because you definitely can sense that in
There's
the
a
room.
difference.
Right. But it takes a lot to get him to that point. I think, to be honest with you, I think I'm taken to a whole new level where I'm even takes it even a whole lot more to get me to that level as well.
Right.
But I learned a lot of that from him, and I realized that over the last 10 to 15 years, as I'm getting more mature and I'm having my own family and all that stuff, and doing all this stuff, this wonderful stuff with all these amazing business folks now throughout the U.S. and soon to be around the world. I finally see that I see a lot of myself in him and me now at this point.
Right.
But he's a big part of it for sure. My mom as well, of course. My mom has been always the one that just loves on everybody and just want to give and include and whatnot. The same thing, even my in-law, and I can say the same thing as well. They're huge, they're
Really?
generous, they're giving, they're huge
Wow.
in,
You
in
lucked
all of us.
out. You lucked out then
Oh, I
for
lucked out.
sure.
I very lucked out. Very much
Yeah.
lucked out.
You hit the
So
lottery.
in going through all the trials, all the ups and a lot of the downs, even before I even became an adult, I look back, and as I'm hearing and interacting with so many people now, just everywhere, I realize that even in the first 10 years of my life, I've gone through and have dealt with so much trial and tribulation more than
Yeah.
most people ever see their entire life.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't know. And so when people ask me, it's like, what drives you, Jay? What makes you so calm? It's like, there's not too many things that I haven't
I,
dealt with
I
that
don't, yeah,
frankly, not only challenging, but sometimes even life threatening at this point.
I'm 1,000% successful at overcoming the things that have happened to me in my life. I
Right.
haven't failed once. Everything that's happened, I've made it
Right.
over. So it's like, why
Yeah.
would I now start doubting myself? I've been so successful so far. And that's like
Yeah.
you said, I mean, what do they say? You never ask for someone's opinion unless you would ask for their advice.
Right.
And it's something I can't get across to people. People are so affected by other people's words. And I go,
Yeah.
but their words don't have any backing behind them because they don't
Right.
know what you've been through and where you've come from. So why would you
Right.
care what they say? Like, and people are
Mm-hmm.
so, and I don't understand because it's a term I use called unfuckwittable. And it's basically like once you
Mm-hmm.
achieve that level of peace where you know who you are, you don't need validation from
Yeah.
anybody else, and you're also,
Right.
supporting, then you are now in
Yeah.
a place where you're at peace. And, but then you look at everybody else and you're like,
And you just nailed that right there where I'm at right now. I consciously acknowledge where I'm at this point in time. It's no longer just something that I kind of think about, or I'm sorry, having at a distant, or something that maybe affects me or maybe injects into me, but I don't really feel it or see it. No, I am very crystal clear that I'm in such an amazing point in my life right now where I can say that there's nothing that I need.
right,
There's nothing that I
right,
truly want
right.
other than to give and to see that giving be used to an advantage for someone else.
Yep.
That's
And
where my mind has been, and that's been the case now. I would say probably for the better half of the last 5 solid years now. This is
yep.
why it's not too many things that's gonna affect me
Right.
one way or the other point in time. I'm just
You,
really, really good and solid, and frankly happy where I'm at right now. So
hey,
freaking happy,
I
and
think
I'm
you I think
able to
you're
help.
absolutely crazy because I'll be honest, management of anybody is difficult. Management of 4,000 realtors, like
Yeah.
that is an insane task alone. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like we're the same age. We've been through a lot of the same situations.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted, man. I couldn't manage again to save my life. I can sell, I can
Yeah.
work, but the management side, I did that for years, and it was just like the only thing that upset me was that people refused to live up their potential. No matter
Right.
how much you could see it in them, they could never see it in themselves, and
But
that
see,
frustrated me.
I'm about to say something that not maybe not a lot of people want to hear. I'm also at a point in my life, career certainly, but life, where there are people. There was at one point where I tried to help everyone. After I
Yeah,
started to realize that I was okay, I'm at peace with myself. I'm at peace at my career. I'm at peace personally. I'm just good, and I just
right.
want to help. There was a point, and this is more recent, just in the last few years, where I wanted to help everyone, like
Yeah,
anyone that came across my desk, any
yeah,
name that came across my desk. I was like, I want to help you.
yeah.
I've realized now that first of all, time is limited. The one
Yes.
commodity that I can never acquire more of, or purchase more, or make more of is time.
Yep.
I realize now that I can't help everyone.
Nope.
However, I can help the one that are wanting to do something and are intentional in doing that thing.
Yep.
And that's the people that I tend to focus on more, because if someone tells you that, they don't want to do anything, they don't want to go anywhere, they're not looking to really level up or to try to improve themselves or improve their world, or improve the people around them, then there's nothing for me to work with.
Complacency.
Exactly. Exactly.
What can you do with that?
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah. So
moldable. It's not shapeable. It's not.
no, it's not.
You
It's
can't
not.
even throw it
It's
away
not.
and start over because it's
No,
such a
absolutely. It's not. I mean, it's almost like pointless to even have a discussion to even begin with. So
exactly,
for me,
exactly.
that is something that I tend to now to be very clear in my head about when I speak and deal with people, where I go, okay, well, Kris, you're a fantastic guy. You're clearly hungry. You clearly want to do something. And listen, being hungry to do something or wanting to do something doesn't necessarily have to have a dollar sign behind it.
No,
It doesn't have to do with
I
anything.
don't do
It's
anything
just
for
a matter if
money.
you want to or not to do it.
Yeah, nothing I do is for money.
Right.
It always seems to follow what I do, but it's I
Yeah.
never and every real estate transaction I've ever done, if I figure out my commission before it closes, will
Yeah.
not close. And I have a 98% success close rate. And that's because I never check the commission. I don't care. I just want to work for the client and do a good job. And
You
every
know what's
time,
funny though, Kris? When you say
boom.
that, um, this is something I realized as well. I consciously realized super clear as well. And that was, the more you focus on just the money, the less productive you are, and the less likely you are to achieve your goal, because now
Yes.
you're distracted, in short.
Yep. Yep.
So, like you, I never think about the money. I never have, and at this point in my life, I never will.
Never will.
But the focus for me has always been, how can I help someone?
Yes.
And through that help and through that process, the most ironic thing happened. The money comes anyways.
It's opportunities. It's just
Right.
like where I'm at now. I mean, I'm getting ready to be the guy that rolls out yoga at the Olympics for the United
That's so
States.
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
that's stuff people will read about in books in the
Right.
future. And I'll be the name that was the first person to make that happen. And it's
Yeah.
so cool to me, but it's not cool to me because I'm doing it, because I'm not doing it. If anything, I've been resisting
Yeah.
doing it, but the universe and God has said, it doesn't matter what you want. This is what you're going to do. And so it's been force fed into me. But now I'm so
Yeah.
excited, not because it's going to be me, but because of how many people's lives will be affected by this
Yeah.
program and by the joining of two countries that have
Right.
never been very close. But now
Right.
I get the opportunity in 3 days to go meet the Prime Minister of India, and then
That's so awesome.
potentially next year be standing between Donald Trump, the Prime Minister of India, at the national championships with a yoga
Yeah.
team that I put together. And now we have thousands of fans, sponsors, you know what I mean? And so it's like, that's something that's going to change the way people live their
Right.
life in a better way. And so I'm
No, absolutely.
excited, not because of the opportunity for me, which would be okay, but I'm
Right.
more excited about the opportunity for people that have no idea what real
Yeah.
yoga is, and this is going to be delivered to their front door. They've never
No,
done this.
I think that's so awesome. And it's funny because what you're doing with yoga, obviously, you're an amazing agent, but just talking about the topic of yoga, what you do and your expertise in that and your passion in that, and your passion in the yoga part on how you are actually doing it for other people to help other people, right? It's no different than what I'm doing with real estate.
No,
You
you're
see,
right. That's a good
it's
point.
not the money that's driving you to do it, the yoga
No,
thing.
no,
It's the fact that you get to offer your blessing to other
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
Does that make
You're
sense?
right. You're
It's
right.
the same
You're
thing
right.
here. I'm not doing what I'm doing with, in this case, Epic Realty and the real
Yeah.
estate stuff. Not
You
because
can
I'm
walk
looking
away
for
right
money.
now, no problem. But
Absolutely.
it's your dedication and your commitment to those people that you've
Right.
given your word to, that you wake up every day and
That
get
is exactly
excited
right.
because you get to deliver to them help,
Yeah.
confidence, security, whatever it is they need.
100%
And
right.
that's what feeds me and makes me feel
Right.
alive, because it's like
Yeah.
chasing money makes you feel like an animal. I feel like you're always
Right.
just walking around looking at the ground. You don't know what's ahead of you. You don't know what's behind you. And money also can't buy time. So then, therefore, what good is it? But if
Well, money
you
can't buy time, but it can buy you a little bit of flexibility in time. Maybe the freedom word,
certainly,
then
certainly,
right,
yeah,
but necessarily
balance.
buy the actual back in that.
But I
But that's
think,
see, that's important to acknowledge though at the same time as what we're doing here. Listen, at the end of the day, you and I have gotten to know each other pretty well. You're a very simple guy. I'm a very simple guy. If you
yes,
notice, I'm not wearing the fancy watches. I'm not, driving the nice shiny cars and anything like that. Well, maybe yours more fancy than mine because I don't even wear
it's a
one.
big one though, isn't
It is a
it?
big one. But you're a big
Like
dude, so it goes with you.
Flavor Flav.
But my point here is that as you're looking at all of this, the things that the materialistic part of it, of the world, part of the world, I don't think excites you, or definitely doesn't excite me.
Not at all.
I'm frankly comfortable in a pair of shorts, flip flop, and a t-shirt, which, by the
Yeah.
way, I literally have seen you in when I first met you as well. So that's true.
Well, and to be fair, I put the shirt on for you because I know you're gonna say something, but it's first of all, I live in Florida. It's really hot here. Second of
Yeah.
all, it's really hot here.
Right.
And then on top of that, I like being in my skin. I like being at the beach. I like being out. So it's like I never really thought about it. And then when I painted my body with needles, which is not a sane idea, but I was like, well, why would I cover this up? And then people were like, do you put sunblock on all your tattoos? And I'm like, no, why? And they're like, well, what if they fade? I go, who am I saving them for?
Right.
When I'm 80, do I want them to be popping? Like, no, I don't. It's like, I'm not going to protect them. So to me,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, of course, some people say it's a waste of money, but look at our grandparents. They bought
Right.
China and set it in a cabinet and never used it, and it was worth
Yeah.
fortunes, right? So every generation has their like thing. But I agree. I think you're right. I think that's a very good way to look at it too. Is that when you're not driven by the material things of the world, then now
Yeah.
you're authentically driven by people who
Yeah.
can succeed, but you also know they won't if it's not for you. So you have
Right.
to help them. So now your conviction comes into play because it's like,
Yeah.
I want to help them and they want to be helped. So now you look
Right.
forward to going to
Yeah.
work.
I will say though, Chris, I'm not so bold and so arrogant to say that, with my involvement, all of a sudden they are a success. Because at the end of the day, it still starts with them,
Right. You can't
right?
teach
I can
discipline.
help and I can certainly have certain things I can do to lift them to the next level,
Guide.
right? And more anything else is more of a guiding process. Like you said, I love the fact that you use that word. It's definitely more of a guiding process because
I feel
ultimately
like
it's still them that
you're
do
like the guidance counselor of Epic.
it.
You think about it, you
I
are.
think you might have started
You're
something right there.
I might just be onto something. Like I need to go see the guidance counselor. Everybody's gonna be like, I got an appointment with the guidance counselor this afternoon. Things aren't
That's
going well,
funny.
but you are kind of like that. Wise man that you can go to for guidance, but also at the same time, if you say something stupid, you're like, I move on. And
Yeah.
you did it to me the other day, and I laughed because um, you're like, I really don't like it when people ask me if I have a few minutes to talk.
Uh,
And then I was like, okay, well, I scheduled time tomorrow. And then 3 minutes later, you call me, and I was like, should I answer this? Is this a test? Is he like, I don't know what to do now. And then when I was sick the other day
I'm
with
just very precise.
no, and I love that you're direct, and I can take that. I can't take when people are not direct
Right.
because that now you're spending so much time trying to figure out what they're actually trying to say, and it's like just
And
say
that
it.
and that goes back to again the whole time thing that I was talking about a few moments ago. That's the one thing that no matter how much money I make, no matter what I do, I can never acquire more time or buy back more time. I
Oh,
just can't. So for me, I like to be very efficient. I like to be very direct, to be honest with you. And I think that's important because, as you said, being direct, being clear in what you're saying eliminates not necessarily every like all the confusion and the delay and the misunderstanding, but it eliminates a whole lot of that. And
yes.
that way everyone can be more efficient with their time.
Plus, you also have a lot more mind space to use because you're not having to maintain all
Yeah.
of the lies that you told.
Right.
Like once I had a traumatic brain injury, there was no more lying for me because I'm doing my best to remember the
Right.
truth.
Right.
So it was
It's
like,
funny because going back to something really simple, you see the shirts that I wear
uh-huh.
either a dark blue shirt, which I think is dark blue, and then I'll wear a black one.
Yep.
And it's literally the same shirt. I have like
Yep.
20 of them.
All right.
That's all I wear.
Yeah.
And people would sometimes make fun of me. And it's like, oh, there's a shirt. Let's see. Literally, when I hop onto a meeting, people will be like, so it's gonna be the blue one or the black one this time, right? And for me,
But
just saving time. It's
yeah.
just, it's just
Well,
less thinking here. I just put on what I put on and go.
I tell people I wear black and any color darker than black. And they go, why? I go, well, to be honest, I can't feel my fingers. And so when I eat, I feel spill food on myself. And as
Yeah,
long as I wear black, it never affects anything. But if I put on anything else, I
right.
make a mess. Now it's a disability that I have. I can't control that. But I
Yeah,
can learn how to work around it, or utilize something like only wearing dark colors to my advantage.
yeah.
And so it's like, that to me is the adaptability we have. That's where we learn to be creative. 2.5 weeks in a boat floating around in the Pacific Ocean at 3 years old, your mind, it must have felt like years out there.
Oh, it did. It
But
did.
you
It did.
had to have something in here
Yeah.
that made you continue to wake up and go every day and say, you know what? It's going to work out. And I bet your father never let you have one doubt that you were going to be fine. And you're on
He
this thing.
no, he didn't. And now that I'm thinking back on it, it wasn't even something he was doing for the family. There was literally a whole entire boat load of people. No kidding. Like not, I mean, no pun intended. A whole boatload of people who were also just as much depending on him to know what
Yep.
he's doing.
Yep. He just had that strong energy, that guidance, like you. Hey, Jay, the guidance counselor, the action figure.
Guys, counselor. That may be my new title now.
I think I like it, guidance counselor. So tell us, after this all happened, I'd love to know in a quick, short, summarized
Yeah.
version from Vietnam, getting off the boat. Dad got his degree, went to school, everything kicked off.
Yeah.
You chose a path somewhere naturally, and
Mm-hmm.
then it evolved into basically being an icon in the real estate industry.
I
Is
don't know
that
about
what you
icon, but
is that
definitely,
what you set
definitely
out to do? Well,
help
you're the
people.
guidance counselor for 4,000 realtors. I think that qualifies as icon status. So you call it whatever you want. I'm just saying. But was it your
So
goal?
yeah, so after obviously a few years gone past by after my dad became an engineer, we moved around in Southern California to Los Angeles and here and there and a little bit places, a few different places. There was a point in well going it was right at the end of high school. I was actually looking to join the Marines at that point. I actually went in, took the ASVAB, and I did pretty well apparently because
Oh,
the recruiter said, "Hey, listen, you ever thought about going to the Air Force?" Back then, I didn't think too much of it.
whoa, you were qualified for the Air Force.
Ah, right. So he, ultimately didn't matter the Air Force, or it didn't matter really Marines. I went home, told my dad that, hey, listen, I was thinking about joining the Marines, and he just simply looked at me. Remember, keep in mind what I told you about my father, the all the stuff that he went through, the education he had, the difficulty, coming to the US and whatnot. He looked at me. Again, he was also a prisoner of war. So anything that has to do with the military, he's not a big fan of. So
Sure,
when I told
sure.
him that I was looking at going into the Marines, no surprise, he
Yeah,
says, go to college.
yeah. I didn't go through all I went through, so you could go back in and do what I had to do.
That's pretty much the case. That's exactly
And
what he said.
and I
And so that
I could
conversation
I
lasts
would
like
yeah,
10 seconds.
that would have stuck to me too. I would have been like, "You're right, Dad. You're right." Like,
Right.
but ironically, your son is
Well,
now
ironically, my son, yeah. So so
you
uh,
the
so that was
proud
the
the man.
moment I decided to go to college, and eventually it led me to doing what I'm doing today. But my son, fast forwarding that, my son, who is in the Marine now, he's 20 years old, so he's been in the Marine now for a little bit over a year and a half at this point in time. So he's a
Good
kid.
looking chap too, man. He's a strong kid. Like he's a
He's a good
soldier.
kid. He's
He's
a
a
really, really
soldier.
good
Yeah.
kid. He's a good kid. He went into so he's an active Marine now at this point in time. The funny thing is that we went back and had the same conversation with my father about Ethan is my son, yeah, Ethan joining Marines and whatnot, and my dad said no, and I was like, Dad, it's not your choice.
Right. Right.
He said
Right.
no, and
Yeah.
then he went so far as to try to talk to me, to talk to him out of it, to talk my wife Vicky him out of it. Now, first of all, Vicky's my wife. She's
she,
his
she
mom.
she went to the big dogs, huh?
Right, exactly.
He
So
called in
of course,
reinforcements.
Vicky being the mom, she was not terribly crazy about the idea of course, her son going into the military and whatnot. But eventually, she kind of settled with it. But it got a little, it took us months and months and months of conversation before we got to that point in time. But my father, the whole time, was kind of coaching all of us, like, tell him no, tell him it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even got my brother to even have a conversation with him as well. And my brother is not military or anything like that, but
Wow.
he's a good kid as well. Tried to talk him out of going to the Marines. Eventually, both my wife and I sat him down, our son, and we said, "Hey, listen, why do you want to go to Marines?" And he said something to me and to my wife where we just could not, we just had nothing to come back with. So he's always been, and again, you're probably going to say, well, of course, but he's never been someone who was selfish. He's always been very giving, like
Right.
ridiculously giving, very generous.
Right.
He's also been someone that has always watched out for other people. A kid who always opened the door for the people behind him. A
Yeah.
kid that always didn't want
Thoughtful.
people to fall and get hurt and stuff.
Yeah.
So when he said that his main driving factor in wanting to go into the Marines was to protect people, knowing what I know of him
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
seeing him grow up
Yeah.
from being a baby to now, I knew that what he said was so dead on true, and he meant it.
You had to be so proud at that moment.
I was very freaking proud of it.
Like
And at the point, I looked
legit.
at my wife, we looked at each other, and we said, we cannot argue.
Yep. Oh, there's nothing you
The
can
only
say.
thing, yeah, the
That's
only thing that we can
purity.
say was that we still want you to do the college thing first, or well, first that didn't happen because he actually ended up going to Marine right out of high school. But we did ask him that if he's not going to do college first, then promise us that he would seriously consider going to college while he's in the Marines. So a year and a half into it now, he's just finished up his first year in college while in Marine. And so both my wife and I are incredibly proud of that kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing
And
everything just
that's
right on.
man, that's a young man who knows what he wants in life and isn't
Yeah,
willing to bend. If your father could be that convincing to an entire boat full of people, but your
yeah,
son stood up to him and went, "No, this is what I'm here for."
yeah.
That's a boy who knows what he wants. And like you
He
said,
did.
at that moment, you have to go, "All right, that's exactly the answer you're supposed to give to get in."
Right, right,
Because
right.
it's the
So
ultimate sacrifice.
yeah, so now that he's in, shortly as soon as we came to being okay with that, that was about a year and a half ago. The whole entire family, mom, dad,
All
my father,
support.
mother-in-law, other side, everybody, 100% support. Not one single person at this point
So what
have
he
any
did brought everyone
friction.
together
Right,
because of an idea they didn't like.
right.
Is that not ironic? That's
Yeah,
leadership. That's
yeah,
leadership, bro. That's
yeah.
you, guidance counselor, Jay.
Yeah, we all came together and now we are 100%. And again, I have to say that I'm truly very proud of that kid. I mean, I have two other kids as well. I have a 21-year-old as well.
Yeah.
She's in
Not to
her
discount
third
the
year.
other ones.
Or girls. Yeah. I have a very feisty 13-year-old right now.
Ooh, that's a good time,
Okay,
huh?
that age. Yeah.
I bet you guys don't speak the same language.
No, she's no, we don't. And in fact,
do,
speaking, I think she's teaching me a thing or two almost every week at this
do
point.
you text? Do you text her?
That's how we communicate
That's
for
how
our
you communicate. Yeah.
yes,
I
that
need
13-year-old.
emojis.
Exactly. Yeah, but Chris, like I said, going back and thinking about the whole thing and even thinking about what I'm doing here with Epic, it's a lot of that, even my personal side, is kind of blending into Epic as well. It's hard for people to understand sometimes when people do things without expectation. I've had that I've had that question mark thrown at me many times, even just in the last even couple of years at Epic. People would ask me, it's like, why is Jay so generous? Why is he offering to help? What is he getting out of this? Sometimes the answer is I'm getting nothing out of it, but they don't
That's why
understand.
you're doing it.
Yeah,
That's why you're doing it. That's the same as me. Teaching yoga. I want to help the agents
right.
feel and have better
Yeah,
lives. And do I make a lot of money for teaching yoga? Yeah. Am I going to charge the agents? No, because you know why? I don't need or want the money. I want to see these people
right,
leave going, I feel better than I did before I came. I'll be back
right,
next week. And to me, if I can make a difference in one person's life, it's worth it. Now, the day
right.
that nobody comes around is the day that I'll retire. But for
Yeah,
me, it's like I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing for one
right.
person, two people, 4,000 people, the
Yeah,
Olympics, whatever,
yeah,
until I can inspire as many people as I can with what I have left to be able to give. And then from
yeah,
there, I find inspiration in people like you, your son, your father. Heck, I think that whole story between those three men right there is a very powerful book because those are three extremely challenging but successful stories about
yeah.
three men who all came from different places but are all part of the same family. And look
Yeah.
at how it all ended up.
I actually had somebody, I'm not going to name the studio, a couple of years back. I kind of let it just kind of subside. But somebody asked me if I would actually be willing to share it and make it into a some sort of a documentary, and I said no at the time. So I don't know. Times have changed. It's been a good number of years now, where
You,
maybe
you
that may be
should.
another
You
topic to
should.
revisit.
I
But
think
I have
so.
a couple of those things that
Do
happen.
it for your dad. Tell his story. But
I
your
might.
dad
It's funny you say that because I actually, the last couple of years, I've been asking him, going back and ask him to write down details of all the stuff that I just shared with you today, so that I can actually have it in writing. One of the things that I haven't done it yet, and he's still very healthy, so I should be doing this soon. I actually want to have like what you and I are doing today, where we have like a recording. I want his story to be told in his voice.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That way he can tell it with the emotion, the conviction, the passion that he has for the
Yeah,
story and not through third party and not through text. You're right. That's the
exactly,
way to go. That's exactly the
exactly.
way to go. That will be an
Yeah.
amazing thing. And
One
then
day,
it would be
maybe
really
his
cool.
great grandkids, they get to
Sit
hear
down
the whole thing through him.
from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
Literally his emotions, his words, not
yeah,
like passed down telephone game. That's a
right.
really cool idea. I think that would be really amazing. I mean, I'd love to talk to the guy because he sounds like somebody I could learn a lot from, and I've never had quality male role models in my life, so I find those type of people very interesting. They're like, unicorns to me because I'm like, wait, there's guys out there that are actually like good fathers and good people. Like that's a thing. But I
Yeah,
also,
we were very fortunate. Both sides of the family, really good people around us.
so tell me at Epic, your favorite thing. One
You
thing.
know,
You can't give me a
benefit
blanket.
or like something that we do for the agents or just
No, no. Just overall, the number one favorite thing that's different from
my number
anywhere
one
else.
favorite
Anywhere
thing
else.
is the way that we look at building what we're building, is the mentality, the focus, the psychology of why we're doing what we're doing. So as again, what I shared with you about Josh saying that, you know, when you lift others, you win as well.
Yes,
That is honestly so deep to the core who I am. And I'm so glad that he put that out, because that I believe is also what Epic represent as well. It's about lifting everyone up.
man.
It's
I
not
tell you
about
what.
I mean, yes, obviously we're a business, we definitely need to make money,
Of
but
course.
the focus, as I said earlier, ironically, when you help other people, you make money anyways.
Exactly. It just comes. But
Yeah,
also, you're right. To me, Epic,
yeah,
what's different about it than anywhere else I've ever, and I've been in a lot of agencies, is that there's a community.
there
Even
is.
if you don't know the people, if they're an
Yeah,
Epic agent, you feel totally comfortable reaching out to them, asking them
yeah,
a question, asking them for help. And those people feel totally comfortable helping you. Where in most
yeah,
agencies, you just don't even talk to other
right,
agents because it's like
yeah,
everybody's out to get everybody else. So I agree
right.
with you. I think, but also that all stems from leadership. So, guidance counselor, owner, you guys are the ones that are making that happen because you do include all the agents in just about everything you do. So it's not
Yeah,
like there's this upper echelon of people sitting around the Knights of the Round Table making decisions. You guys
right,
involve everybody. And that's
right.
why I think it's such a beautiful organization. And I think that, they
Yeah,
really have something special going, especially since you guys offer yoga from one of the top yoga teachers in the world. I mean, that's like
absolutely.
forefront thinking right there, man. I don't know who came up with that, but it's fantastic.
It
I
is
hear it's
a
a high demand
phenomenal
these days.
idea.
And you know
Yeah.
what? We might have Epic on the Olympic jerseys for the yogis in a couple years. So
That'd be awesome.
wouldn't that be
That'd be so
amazing?
awesome. Yeah, that'd be
Where do you see things going in the next 10 years? Where are you at?
right now. I have my next 3 years already planned out. Actually, yeah, next 3 years already planned out. So this technically marks, as far as just business in general. Is my I just concluded or just touch on my second year at Epic Realty. I do see another 3 more years of constant churning and burning kind of a situation, but not like a
Guidance counseling.
level. Right.
Guidance counseling.
There you go. Guidance count happening. But I do see it because we're obviously still a young company. We're still very much an ever evolving company, and there's still things that we are still learning every single day. Things that we're still trying to perfect every single day. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the truth of the matter is, Kris, there's still going to be things to perfect and things to make better. It's an ever evolving thing, just like life, just like what you're doing. The day that we say that we're 100% okay with everything is the day we stop.
Exactly.
And Epic, it's kind of funny because there's the three things that I share with people nationwide every single week. The three core of Epic is that the agent should be in the center of the brokerage, center stage. Number two, our brokerage, in this case Epic, should be proactive in helping and working with the agent all the time. And the third thing is that we need to do more. So that
Right.
more part is going to be that ever evolving future for ours.
Right. Right. And honestly, that's exactly what comes across from Epic. I mean, it's been very consistent messages, the advertising, the marketing, the promoting. It took
Yeah.
me all of 3 minutes to sign up with Epic. I was like, oh yeah, this is the future right here of real estate. I've been around a long time. And I was like, this is the future of real estate.
There's
I
so much
don't
more to
know
come.
how you do it because it's like insane the amount of things that are available. But
Yeah.
I think that it's definitely what real estate needs to become, and it's the
Yeah,
way that
absolutely.
agents are moving that direction. People's farm areas are opening up larger and larger. People are starting to work overseas.
Yep.
Currency exchanges. There's so much stuff happening now. The web
Yeah.
is just connected us so tight. So it's like you need a forefront agency that has all the tools to be able to use to be successful on a global level rather than
Right.
just being able to sell in a single neighborhood. And I always felt limited when I was in an agency because it'd be like, hey, a friend of mine wants me to sell his house in Miami and it's a $6 million home, but I can't
Yeah.
sell it because I'm in MLS up here. And it was
Yeah.
like, this doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah. 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 The world of real estate and real estate brokerages have changed so drastically over the course of the last, I would say, 5, even 10 years now. It just has completely evolved to a whole different thing. But then, the kind of really interesting thing about Epic is that it's taking even that evolution and completely turning its head upside down to the point now even those virtual cloud-based brokerages are now starting to adopt a lot of the ideas that Epic have now pioneered.
Yeah.
We speak. So
Well,
it's
imitation is
recognition. It's
imi- eh,
recognition and it's clear acknowledgement that what we're doing is obviously effective and it's going heading in the right direction. That's why now even the companies who started the whole, you know,
Yep.
these ideas are now adopting our ideas.
Well, imitation is the best form of flattery.
100%.
And so, and also, why reinvent the wheel? If somebody does something that's a great idea, go do the same thing. It's like, don't.
One of the things that Josh always tells me is that he doesn't really care that other people are copying, because the fact that he knows that people are kind of taking a page from Epic is a good thing, because it just
Yeah,
means they know and they acknowledge that it's something that needs to be improved, number one. Number two, the thing that potentially that Josh and the rest of our crew are implementing also makes sense. That's why it's being implemented. So
right.
again, all round, it's a win-win more than anyone else for the agents.
And if you do good business
Yeah,
authentically,
yeah,
honestly, and
yeah.
just a solid good business,
Yeah,
there's no competition that can beat you ever.
right,
So you
right,
welcome competition because competition only takes business away from people who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. If you're
right.
doing what you're supposed to be doing, I've never lost a client to anyone ever.
I say this in private, but I'll say it here with you today. I am competitive, but I'm not competitive to the detriment of others. Let's be,
Sure,
want to be
sure.
really clear about that. But I am very competitive. Otherwise, again, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, especially in this type of industry, right? But the thing that I always tell people is this: I will win you because I'm going to beat you down with love and kindness.
Exactly, exactly. And you do, man. I mean, it's you definitely have a sharp edge at times, but I respect that because it's necessary. You can't
Yeah,
do what you're doing right now and be everybody's best friend. You have to be a little bit of a guidance counselor or someone who gives direction, you know. And
right.
I don't take to me it's entertaining. And that's why I like you. I don't like when people ask me if I have free time, and then you called me, and I was like, should I answer this? You know, but in my head, I'm going, I know what he's saying. He's
Yeah,
saying, I only got this much time, and I planned the day out based on that. And the last thing I want is something to interrupt it because I already worked it out. And so
right.
I know what you're saying, but also if there's time to fit it in without it messing things up, then it's
Yeah.
fine, you know? And so when you said it, I was like, oh, I totally get where he's coming from. It isn't that. He means that in
Uh,
the best of ways.
Trust me, although I'm very patient and I'm very flexible, I will tell you that anyone who sees my schedule probably will have a heart attack.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
There's
I don't
just
even
so
want to
many
look
dots everywhere.
at it. Just the amount of posts that you post are like, I'm like, wow, does he have someone sitting there going post, 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 post all day? Because it's great. I mean, first of all, kudos to Epic for doing all this stuff to have
Yeah,
that many posts. But
yeah.
second of all, wow, like we are busy and doing a lot of really
That's
cool
just it.
things.
That's just it. We want to share with the world, the good that Epic's doing, and the wonderful things that the people, wonderful people we're doing with, but also, just let them know. At the end of the day, all we're doing is we want to help. That's it. What it comes down to. We're
What do you
making.
think's gonna? What's your prediction for the housing market coming up?
I think the housing market is gonna. Well, I mean, it's already starting to pick back up already at this point in time. I'm starting to see it all over the U.S. where there are multiple offer situation, and even in some cases overbidding again, which was something more commonplace back during pre post COVID time.
Right?
Or actually, even during COVID time, even
Yep.
that's when it
Yep.
was hot. So I'm
Yeah.
starting to see a bit of that. I still think that there's still going to be plenty of markets that still need to settle, and they are settling. I know, like, there are pockets of, let's say, in Texas where the prices are starting to kind of even out, or even in Florida where you're at, in
Mhm.
certain pockets, specifically in like the southwest corner, starting to kind of even out right now, and sometimes even slight dip, just kind of because it's kind of reaching that balance at this point. But a lot of what I'm seeing right now is definitely trending in the right direction. People are starting to get a whole lot more comfortable also with just the back and forth with even interest rate and whatnot. That certainly has been a contentious point of discussion over the
Sure.
past couple of years. And for those real estate professional, even the whole NAR settlement, now that we've had a little bit of time to absorb it, digest it a little bit, we're starting now to have that conversation now to kind of move beyond that at this point in time.
Right.
Obviously, there's still going to be a whole lot more education that needs to happen, but agents are starting to understand it. They're starting to get more comfortable with the changes because,
They're letting go of the anger of the fact that
yeah,
they don't have it the way it used to be.
right. I mean, at the end of the day, for the public, to be able to truly benefit from this. And I think it is for the public. That's a whole different topic for another day. But it is definitely to the benefit of the public. But in order for the
Absolutely.
public to benefit, the people who are renting the services, in this case, agents, we need to be brought up to speed and be okay with it and understand how it works so that we can be the professional that we should be for the consumer.
And for me, it didn't change anything because I've never listed anything for less than 6%, and I never will. So like I'm telling you flat out right now, I believe I'm worth every penny of what we
Right.
charge. So therefore I've never lowered that percentage.
Yeah.
So when
Well,
they
again, I find it kind of funny you mentioned that because agents who are doing their business at a high level didn't see much of a change. In fact, at all. In fact, the whole change actually only just amplified what they do and made them even better and more recognizable. So
That's it.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of complaints there.
I hear people all the time, good housing market, bad housing market. And I always go, there's no such thing as either. There's only the housing market. It's
Correct.
what you do with it that determines whether or not it's
Right.
good or bad for you. And I said,
Right.
I made more money when the housing market crashed because I was smart enough to go to doctors and say,
Yeah.
give me $3 million. I'm going
Yeah.
to get you 10 properties that you'll never see. I'll fill them with tenants. And in 5 years, we'll sell them and I'll bring you back
Yeah.
$15 million and you have to
Yeah.
do no work. And I managed medical doctor portfolios and bought
Mhm.
all the foreclosures, put rent tenants in them, and
Mhm.
it made them so much money. And guess what? Well, when you sell $10 million worth of real estate, you
Yeah.
get a lot of commission. And if you've got
Mhm.
5 or 6 doctors, but see, to me, I saw that as perfect opportunity.
Right.
Whereas most agents were like, man, they're not just walking in and buying houses anymore. So I'm going to have to go get a real job. And it's like, wait a
Well, like I said,
minute.
when you do real estate at a high level, um, it's always you're always going to have an opportunity, but also because you're doing real estate at a higher level. In most cases, these agents they also see the opportunity that lies in, listen. I guess the best way we can call it is an up market or a down market, and it's really just a momentum swing.
Yep.
But if you understand how the market works, you understand the business as a whole, like from a a 3,000 foot kind of
Right.
perspective, you're going to understand how to gauge it and move with the business.
Yep. What is it,
You know,
4% over the last 75 years? 4%, 75 years. So all the ups and downs,
right?
still an average of 4% for 75 or
Yeah,
100 years. So it's
yeah,
like you can safely bet that if you're at 4% or lower on your interest rate, you're
yeah,
not paying any interest on your loan. And it's like, so now you're borrowing for free. And if,
100%.
as
Yeah.
long as you stay long enough,
Yeah,
it's just
I
when
don't see
you,
much of a change. I think the market is gonna, as we always say, the terminology is gonna correct itself, and it will. Just like anything, even in life, just in business, everything's gonna balance out.
yep,
It's just a
yep,
matter of time. It may be that it goes through some rough patches again, just like in personal life, but
yeah.
it doesn't always balance out at the end of the day.
I know there's been some talk down here of DeSantis trying to stop any more RV parks from being built in Florida because
Mhm.
of the fact that it's crushing the housing market and people are just getting RVs and bringing them
Yeah,
down and parking them. So I don't know if it's true. I don't know how much truth is behind it, but I can imagine that it is because of how many people, during the this COVID, if they had an
yeah.
RV and they were locked up, they just jumped in their RV and came to
Mhm.
free state of Florida and lived down here, and then left their RV here, and then now they're basically residents. But I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to crush a housing market. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't.
No, I mean, not
It's a
unless the whole
different type of
US is
thing.
at the same time. Yeah, it's obviously a very isolated market, and I don't think it's big enough to impact everyone else. Because let's just be real, the majority of people still want to be inside of a home, a real
Right.
home,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
There's obviously some cool stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm one of those people who thought about getting an RV just so I can travel and have fun and that stuff too. But at the end of the day, you still want to go back to a real home.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, you need that place. Well, I'm excited for Tennessee. Can't wait to get up there. Thursday mornings at 8:30. Man,
Yeah.
we're having. I was so sick. I haven't been this sick in 20 years, as I was the other morning, and I was so upset because I just wanted to see the Epic agents on the call. And we're making new flyers and posting new stuff to try to get people interested. And I know it's going to take time, and I'm patient, and I'm
It
okay with
is.
that.
It is. It's gonna take time. I mean, it's something different. It's just like anything else in Epic. It's like when we talk about with Epic with car wash, for example. People are like, what?
How's
And
that
then
work?
after they got their head wrapped around it, and it was like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense now.
Yeah,
And now it's kind of a commonplace thing at
right.
this point.
It's just understanding the new thing, and so, but we're loving it. We think it's great. I think it's going to grow. I think people are going to really get on board with it. It
Oh,
just
I
takes,
love it. I
and
love
it's,
it.
especially once we come up in the tour bus
Mhm.
and we're parked out front of the, wherever we're hosting. Is it Nashville and coming up,
Mhm.
Tennessee?
Nashville, huh?
And if we get a chance to offer a class and they get to meet us in person, that's going
Yeah,
to help a lot too, because now there's like a face with the person instead of,
yeah,
we also, our bus is being finished this week. So we'll be able
yeah.
to go to beautiful tropical backdrops to do our classes all over the
Nice.
place instead of like parking lot, RV park, but we had to do the remodel. So it is what it is, right?
I can't wait to see it. I mean, I saw just only the bus itself without all the work on it yet. But I know to speaking to you and so obviously to some of our mutual friends, you're very busy working on it right now. I just
Yes.
can't wait to see it.
I'm in the final week of it, and then I'm gonna wrap it and paint it or wrap it. And now with the obviously this yogasana sport of yoga
Yeah,
becoming a big deal in the United States, and me bringing it to the United
yeah,
States, obviously I'm gonna promote that, but I'm also gonna
yeah.
promote Epic, and I'm gonna promote my podcast, and I'm gonna promote anyone who wants to get anybody who I believe in that brings something to the table is
Yeah.
allowed to be a part of it. But I'm also going to reach out to those big sponsors. I think I need a Prevost tour bus for my yogis to travel around and do
Mhm.
demos. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So I think there's
Yeah,
going to be a lot of opportunity, but it's going to be really good for society, good for connection, good for a lot of things.
yeah.
And I never thought in a million years that I would be the one to bring yoga to the Olympics. Sounds
Listen,
uh,
I think that's the interesting thing about this conversation here today, Chris, is that, much of what I have done, I never would have thought that I would be doing what I'm doing today
no.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Life has an interesting way of just kind of guiding you where you need to be and where you're meant to be.
Be willing, right? Just be a
Yeah,
vessel. All you gotta do is
right.
be willing. And like Bruce Lee said, be like water.
Yeah.
Just fluid.
Dude, one of the things that I think I get a chance to
Oh,
discuss is because I haven't been to Bali. Bali,
I got
Indonesia,
you.
and I know you're big out there. So I
I
need
got you.
bigger there. So I'll be giving you a ring as we get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to go while I'm not there, I'll have someone pick you up from the airport, take care of you, money exchange, watch your stuff, take you everywhere. VIP service won't cost you a dime. I
Love it.
got you. He's
Yeah,
amazing.
I definitely want to hit that place for sure.
You're gonna love it. Jay, thanks for taking so much time. I know you're so busy, man, but I appreciate you getting the time to talk with me
Dude,
today.
you
It
know what?
was
I know
amazing.
you and I touch on Michael being a good friend and whatnot, and his personality and whatnot. Truthfully, Chris, what caught me about you is also your personality as well. Real estate, although obviously we're in the business of real estate together, and that's how we're affiliated. But I also believe in meeting good people for good reasons,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I do sense from day one that you're one of those people that just there's just something very right about you. And the word I use, and I've used a couple of times now, is something very balanced, right? You just at that point where you just you know what, it just makes sense.
And that's couldn't be a better word for me because that's the name of my company, my production company, my studio. Everything is called the Balance
Yeah,
Studio Production. So it's great that that's the word you see because that's the word I strive for. I don't think it's healthy to be out of balance. And I really agree with you. I think there's so many amazing people at Epic that I could never see myself being anywhere else because how would I ever walk away from all my friends and all these people that when I need to talk to them, they pick up the phone every time or
yeah,
call me right back and they're there no matter what. And it's like, they're not obligated to do that. They do that because they're good, solid people.
right,
And it's just amazing. Like, it's really cool to be a part of such a family. And I
right.
think we'll be, 10,000 strong pretty quick here soon.
Oh, absolutely,
And you
absolutely.
right about the time you're ready to slide out the back door, right?
I still
Yeah,
have a good couple more years to run here.
3 years, you'll be way past 10,000. I got this.
Here's the thing. 3 years from now, my hope, my expectation is to have someone else, a whole new group of leaderships that will fill us all. Many of the people that you see here in leadership at Epic will probably no, will probably very likely still be around. But I
Yeah,
think it's always fun. It's always a good idea to bring in new faces, new name, new ideas, new perspective
absolutely,
to
absolutely.
grow. And certainly, there's also going to be also the fact that we are going to get a whole lot bigger. We certainly would need more hands on deck as well.
Well, I mean, like I said, to me, it's an amazing puzzle that you're
Yeah,
able to keep together because there's so many people being moved, promoted. I don't know how you even know who everybody is, but I believe honestly that you know almost every agent's name when you see their face.
I do make it a point to know people by their name.
And
Yeah,
that says so much about your character because that takes effort, that takes care, that takes attention, that takes a lot of things. And most people can't remember one person's name.
yeah.
I know I'm one of them. I call all women beautiful. Why? Because I don't remember their name.
They're
And
funny.
they've never gotten mad at me for calling them beautiful. So,
Yeah.
Jay, I'll let you go, man. Have a wonderful evening, brother. Thank you
It's
so
a
much for
pleasure,
being on
man.
the
I
show,
love hanging
man.
out with you, Chris. We'll
Yeah,
talk soon.
we'll see you Thursday morning.
All right, sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, bye, Jay.